Years ago this week, I was taken against my will, tortured for 37 minutes, throat slit, leg slit, stabbed a total of 18 times, raped, and then buried alive. I'm calling this story time in love and then buried alive. It's time that I share the details from one of the most tragic events in my life. I'm now 48 years old. I don't look like what I've been through, but I realize that not everyone has the strength or resilience to go from turning from a victim into a survivor. Even though the pain they've been through really gives them purpose, the pain they've been through really gives them power. So I've decided to share this story during this anniversary week in more detail than I've ever shared. I was 20 years old. I was away in New Jersey at college. I'm from Pennsylvania, small little town. So having something like that happen to me that got so much interest that I was on the Montel Williams show, Lifetime wanted to do a movie about me, but I did not agree with how they wanted the actors to depict me. But my daughter, who is now 22, said to me last year when I shared part of the details, she said to me, "Mom, so many girls my age need to hear this story." And for me, I didn't realize I kept a journal. I journaled, not every day, but many days. I wrote down a lot. I kept all of the cards that other survivors of domestic violence sent to me after I was on the Montel Williams show. I kept notes from when he was stalking me. So I'm going to go back and I don't know how many parts the story time will be, share what that was like for 20-year-old Roxanne, who was excited in love and then shocked at being stalked, even more shocked at being stabbed the number of times I was. I will share pictures. I will show the journal entries, my feelings, my emotions, and I feel like the easiest way to do it is when I'm going about my day. I wanted to sit down and tell it all, but I don't know how I will handle that. But I feel like not only will this be therapeutic for me, but life-saving for someone else, because I truly believe that in my work as a healer, I am a board-certified holistic health practitioner with a PhD in health psychology. But bigger than that is me wanting not only my clients to know, but other souls in this world to know that you are not defined by your pain or your trauma or someone else's desire to think that you don't have a light in this world that needs to be shared. So follow, turn on notifications. I don't know how many parts this will be. I'm just trying to fit it into my day as we go. All right, let's go. In love, then buried alive. Well, quick part 2. I gotta go get my hair done, so y'all gonna be coming with me to get my hair taken down. This is what I kept all of my information. You can tell this, look at the type of paperwork. You can tell, look at the police reports. You can tell this was from the 90s, because this is how the police reports were printed out. I think this is my restraining order. See, State of New Jersey, domestic violence complaint. State of New Jersey, domestic violence complaint. Paterson, New Jersey is where this took place in. But, and let me tell y'all, I'm going to give you a preview, but I'm going to share this later. By the time we get to the end of the story, the middle of the story, I'll be telling you this was 6 days after, because he had cut my hair off during the attack, stabbed me several places, but we'll get to that part. I'm out of breath because I just finished leading a Sunday Pilates class. I lead virtual classes. So I'm going to be going through documents that I haven't pulled out. Look, this was the Montel beating victim. And it's the going through everything that took place during this time. County of Passaic, look at this. State Parole Board, the Victims Services Program. This was in 2002 when they was trying to parole him, and I wanted to be like, no. Because although the charge was dropped from attempted murder to aggravated assault because he had an appointment the next day with his psychiatrist, and it was state of New Jersey, he didn't get all the time, and the governor at the time had just passed a new law where the inmates had to serve 70% of their sentence, so he ended up only getting 10 years. And see my notes? So when I'm going to get to that part of the story, but I want to show you, I haven't gone back through this whenever I would tell the story. I'm going to be going back. Here's my, oh my gosh. Here's one of the hospital reports showing all the stabbings, all the punctures. I got to do this. Look at this. 4/3/1997. 28 years ago this week. 28 years ago this week. So I'm going to go back to how we met. And then I'll start going through all of this. Retracing the steps from when I fell in love to what transpired even after the attack and what happened after that. It's crazy. So I'm on my way to get my hair done and I'm driving, so I may not be looking up at the camera, but I'm trying to record as much as I can because I promise, let me tell you guys that are new to seeing this, I am a board certified holistic health practitioner. And in this process of teaching people how to heal their bodies and having a PhD in health psychology, over the years of this, I've realized that I'm a healer. I'm a healer. I teach people how to heal themselves. And last week, exactly 1 week from this upcoming Wednesday, that makes the 28-year anniversary to April 3rd, 1997, when this happened to me. I didn't realize in the moment. We had the most amazing live. I was on live last week on Wednesday for my normal health behavior accountability session. It took a turn where I shared part of my story, like just a glimpse, like a 1-minute piece, to other people in the chat. Beautiful souls started putting their trauma. I couldn't even keep up. So to y'all that I couldn't keep up and I didn't see your comments, I realized, oh my gosh, God, like I can't not have these people all in this room. When I tell you the energy, we all felt like there was a piece of healing. Many of us had chills. Everyone felt like it was the coming together of just the right everything. I was on for 4.5 hours. The best live ever, 4.5 hours. I told them before I got off, I said, y'all, I don't know what I'm gonna do with this, but there's a calling. The fact that I shared it, and this many of you on here have different traumas, and some were stuck in their trauma, and the fact that I am an alchemist, I have transmuted the several different traumatic, like I've lived several lives. I knew I needed to do something with it. So I went to bed, and then it was put on my heart. And with this upcoming Wednesday, that's why I need y'all to turn your notifications on. I'm gonna keep the story time. I have one of my, two of my clients. One of them, her name is Dr. Dawn. She is a licensed psychologist and trauma therapist. Like, this is what she does, and she has other practitioners under her. This is what she does. She helps to treat and help those in trauma. The other person I have, her name is Nicole, and she, Nicole, and she has been through different life traumas, but she has this way of inspiring, uplifting. The words that flow out of her mouth come out as if it's a quote in a book. And I'm bringing both of them to you. So I said, before I get on here with y'all, have y'all on, wanting y'all to be transparent in the comments in a new segment that I'm going to call How We Heal. I said, let me get on here and do a story time. And do a story time in a way I never had. I'm going back. Girl, I was in the shower crying. These lashes, my lash girl, we're going to need new lashes. These lashes is not going to make it through these tears. So I had to chop this up because of how I'm recording. So I don't know what it's going to look like, but stick with me. I'm at a red light now. So look. So my, I said, I got to be transparent and get most of my story out there. So, and also pull together the audience to experience me bringing on a trauma therapist. When I tell y'all she is good, and me bringing on somebody who's not only a survivor, but she's just a beautiful soul. And I said, let me tell my story so those that get on will already be primed, prepped to allow this pouring in, and maybe some healing or the beginning of healing can take place, but also so other souls that need this, that may have felt stuck for decades with where they are, can get a sense of hope. because I still sometimes don't understand the resilience, the bounce back that I have. And I feel like when you've been through something in life, you have a what's the word? A duty placed upon your life. If you come out of it, to share it with others, to help them. I truly believe that, because not everybody can come up out of stuff. So I'm all out of breath, y'all, because I was rushing to get out. I'm running late for getting my hair taken down, and I'm trying to record this in different clips. And so as I begin to just unfold and share this in longer clips, I'm gonna do longer clips. I want you to share, tag, whatever. Let others know in your life that you know are in a situation that's traumatic, a situation they feel like they can't get out of. If they've gone through it, if they're letting it pull them down, because I promise you there will be something in this. Or if they have a daughter. This happened when I was 20 years old. I was 20 years old. I am 48. And the fact that this is occurring, can I park up here? The fact that this is occurring exactly, I didn't plan this, is occurring. It happened exactly 1 week before the 28-day, can I park here? Yes, okay. Before the anniversary of the 28 years is not a coincidence. So I am on this with a sense of urgency that has been placed. And some of y'all know when you got a calling on your life, or a calling, and you don't believe in coincidences, because nothing is a coincidence. You know you got to move with an urgency, to get this out. So that's what I'm doing. Thank you for bearing with me. I'm just trying to rush and get it done in the mix of everything else I do in life. My car is parked. I'm about to get my food ready, and me and my hairdresser are going to set up, and we're going to really get into it. Okay, now I'm parking wrong. Okay, so I will be back. I could imagine my mother now. Eyes on the road, daughter. I know, Mama. I'm looking. I'm just trying to park. Here we go. All right. Okay, I'm back, and half my head is taken down. So what I want to do is take y'all back through, set the stage for what 20-year-old Roxanne was like. I come from a small city in Pennsylvania, and my first year out of high school, I thought I was going to marry the boyfriend I was with. He was older than me. He was the first real, bad boy hustler. He had a purple car with rims on it. And he was the first kind of one that, set the stage for the kind of guys I would then date once after I broke up with him and I transferred to a school in New Jersey, Seton Hall University. So at this point, in 1996, I had already been at Seton Hall University for a year and a half. Now, Seton Hall University, let me give you the stage, sits in South Orange, New Jersey, but where the campus ends, Newark begins. Newark, New Jersey. Redman actually went to Seton Hall, but I think he dropped out right before he blew up before I got there my sophomore year. And at the time, Newark, New Jersey was known as the car theft capital of the world. So me coming from my small little town, that's noise outside, my small little town, my parents was worried, and I had a little sidekick, y'all. My parents had got me a car thinking that I was going to stay because I was going to college locally. But I didn't. Let me set the stage. I had a Sidekick Sport, the 4-door. This was the Aaliyah days. Remember the Aaliyah days? My license plate said Roxy, my nickname. So here I go, little small town girl with a car all up in Newark, New Jersey. I would put the club on to lock my car because I didn't want nobody to steal my car. And although I had a lot of girlfriends and sororities, I never pledged. That never was appealing to me. I had girlfriends that was AKAs, girlfriends that was Deltas, girlfriends that were Zetas, but I never was interested in pledging. And the guys I dated, I messed with some guys at school, but my man was always guys off campus, the hustlers. That appealed to me. Look, she's laughing at me. She's serious. So when I met Nicholas, I had already been in New Jersey, and I had two groups of friends. So I had my girlfriends at school, and I had the girls I ran the street with. They ran the street because I met them through the guys I would date. They would be the girlfriends. They would give us money. We could go shop, go do whatever, but never really spent time with us. Always had other side girls. You getting caught up in a lot of crazy, crazy stuff. So at this point, in beginning of winter 1996. At this point, I don't know if I was really dating somebody. No, I wasn't committed, but I was open. So we were at a club. So this had to be like fall. Wait a minute, y'all, because let me tell you what I bought. And what I did was insert. This was me. This is Roxanne. There's a picture somewhere on this screen that I've inserted of Roxanne 1996. 20-year-old. This is 48-year-old Roxanne. The picture I'm putting here is 20-year-old Roxanne. So I brought the file because I want to, as I'm doing this story time, I kept notes for after, so it's going to help guide me so I don't miss parts of the story and then I can fill it in. So, okay. So I remember we were outside of the club and we must have had let out. You know how you'll be outside the club cute with your girlfriends and then guys would be pulling up? I remember, I think I liked his friend, or his friend seemed like he was the one. His friend was driving and he was the one in the passenger seat. And he was a plain Joe. Sears, JCPenney type clothes back then. You know what I mean? Like plain, like green shirt, jeans, real like, he wasn't flashy and I was into the flashy looks. You know, I was into the flashy. And it was like, I don't really like your friend. But he was saying that I think he lied at the point too. Because I remember him saying something about his birthday. I remember him saying something about his birthday, just give my boy's number. I don't remember all the detail, but we exchanged numbers. We did exchange numbers, right? So, here it is. Look at my story. It says, we exchanged phone numbers. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to start reading from, this is something I typed up with because I was getting tired of telling my story to the detectives after. See, look at the prosecutor. See, prosecutor's name. So this is one of my folders of all my stuff. So I am going to read and fill in. So I met Nicholas. I'm going to leave his last name out so y'all don't go for him, because who will be referred to hereafter as Nick, the beginning of December 1996. We exchanged phone numbers, called each other, hooked up one time, and then never spoke again until New Year's Eve. I did not like him at all. See my first red flag? Y'all, come here. Do y'all see this here? I did not like him. Where is it at? Wait, right here. I did not like him. I did not like him at all, right? But it says, besides the fact he was not my type, he acted like he was my dad. Oh, this is interesting. Or some type of authoritative figure. Red flag, ladies. Because I seen the red flag and forgot about this time reading it. So I already have felt that way. Wow. Even she said,
Oh, wow.
Like, I already felt that way. So your instincts already tell you when you're not. Wow. I have not opened this since then. So look. Okay, let's keep going. So look. That was red flag. I wrote, anyways, New Year's Eve came, and for some reason, which still puzzles me to this day, we decided to spend New Year's Eve together. From this day up through January, everything was excellent. I got excellent in all caps. Look, everything was excellent. So I went from one conversation with him and never spoke. He wasn't my type, and he made me feel like he was my dad or authoritative. So I wonder, for me, you know what it might have been? It might have been that I had no date for New Year's Eve and wanted to be out, because I was cute, y'all. I was cutie. I don't know if I'm gonna put a picture here, but it's gonna be here, right? I might have wanted to be out. I was the happiest I had been, wow, since my parents surprised me with my graduation gift, and that was my little Suzuki Sidekick Sport with the words Roxy on the tag. Nick was my world, and I was his. Nothing could go wrong. He was perfect for me. At least that's what I thought. He had a somewhat good job. He took care of his 9-year-old daughter. He always looked out for me, and I definitely looked out for him. I would give him massages, cook dinner every single day. Bitch, Roxanne, when you was 20. Yeah. I lived in East Orange. At this point, let me catch y'all up. At this point in 1996, I was a junior in college. I was a junior. So this was the beginning of my junior. So this was December going into January. So I spent New Year's Eve with him, and all of a sudden it was fabulous. This was January. So I was midway through my junior year. Let me also give you the climate. Guess who died in 1997? Biggie, right? Oh. So this was them times. You know, I'm a 76 baby, so I'm taking you back to the music, the era, right? So I lived off campus in East Orange. I lived off campus in East Orange, and I lived in a really tall building. I had a doorman. My apartment was barely furnished. I had just got some furniture, a little bit of furniture. I lived on like the 20-something floor. So I'm giving you that because that's going to be important when I get to... He spent more time stalking me than we spent together. We were together 6 weeks. He stalked me longer than that. I broke it off. I'm going to get to why I broke it off. So I gave him massages, cooked dinner. I packed him lunch, which always included a love note from me. Now I wonder if I spoiled him too much. Like I said before, things were too good to be true. So I'm right here with what I wrote down. Like, I typed this up not too long after the stabbing to... All right, so let's keep going. Okay, so I want to stop because when I came in, I was going through my folder, right? And I found, like, these are like my notes, but I found another folder. So let me put this here. Wait, where were... I seen his notes. Where was his notes? Where'd I put his notes? Because I didn't realize he wrote me...
It's in the red folder.
Oh, wait a minute. You
Please,
see...
it's in the red folder.
See that? She was like the red folder. Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
I'll help you out.
Yeah, help me out. Oh, here it is. Here it is. Okay. So mind you, I have not looked in this folder, y'all, in a very long time. Like, this happened 28 years ago. So I didn't even realize that I had kept notes from him. So I really want to paint the picture. Young girls, women now. Look at this. And hold this. I had all my stuff, the officers, the everything from during this time because this was big. The Victim's Witness Guide. What was this? Passaic County Women's Center of Domestic Violence. The Safe House. Like, because the stuff that happened to me after I broke it off with him. Okay, so we got together, I said New Year's Eve, right? Here's a note. And I just actually seen this note when I came in. It was like, oh my gosh, look at this. But I didn't go through all of it. So we're going to do it together. Mommy, if you're on here, you don't have to watch, Mom. You don't have to watch. Look at the date. 1/22/97. This was a note from him. Now, it looks like I wrote something else later on. It was probably the police number. So it says, I'm starting to feel you a whole lot. That's why I act the way I do sometimes. So we're less than 30 days in, and we must have had an argument or something. Something must have happened for him to write this note. Like, but wait, look. Here's one from a few days before. The 17th, 1997. I'm going to miss you while you're away, but I will be thinking about you the whole time that you're gone. Have a good day and safe trip. See you when you get back. So it felt like, you know, the love stuff, but something happened between the 17th and the 22nd. So I'm wondering if I went away and he acted a fool because he went from have a good trip to that's why I act the way I do. Wow. Me going back to 20-year-old me.
Wow.
So... Wait, I'm going through the... Now, mind you, y'all, he had told me he was only, I think, 6 years older than me. I always dated older guys. I didn't find out till later in motherfucking court after I was buried alive that he was 12 years older than me. So I was 20 and he was 32. But I didn't know. I thought he was 28. So I put the red folder down. I'm sorry this ain't organized, y'all. I'm just going through this for the first time, getting this story in. So back to what I had typed up after what happened for the police. So around the beginning of February, only 4 weeks into our relationship. So those notes was the end of February. And I still wrote, Nick started to really begin catching feelings for me. Although he never yelled at me, hit me, or even made me think that he would, he was becoming somewhat jealous and possessive. Now, this is 20-year-old me. I had never experienced what that was like. That's important for me to say because when I walk y'all through the lifetime storyness of my stalking situation where he stalked me, beat my ass, stalked me, mom put him in jail, bailed him out, like it's lifetime storyish. So, he was becoming somewhat jealous and possessive. Not extremely, but enough. I was coming down off of this love high and began wishing I never committed myself to another relationship. Okay, so I'm reading from what I wrote then, right? Now, mind you, look, this was back then, because look, this was the date of what happened on that day, because I would get tired of kind of telling the story and begin wishing, okay, it was too hard to keep while so involved with school. Nick began going to Atlantic City more often and not winning, but losing tons of money. That's what I need to tell y'all. He's a gambler. So the one thing, we would, he wasn't like the guys I was used to dating, but he paid attention to me, you know, and we went to the museum and we would go to Atlantic City often and he would win. And to me at 20, the only other times I would go to Atlantic City was the fights. That was when Mike Tyson was fighting. I'll be down there in my little big skirt, my little, you know, the late 90s. And we would be just, we didn't pay to get in the fight, but we was in the casino, you know. You know what I mean? Like we was cute. There was no social media back then. I was with my girls and my little sidekick. We driving all the way from Newark, New Jersey down to Atlantic City. And sometimes we couldn't even pay to get a hotel, but we were just hoping that we would hook up with somebody and then be driving the fuck back, right? That's the vibes of the late 90s. But then I was like, I got me a man that gambles. So he was making money at the casinos. And remember, he's a regular schmegular. Regular jeans, no name brand. So it was different for me. Now, I still was in touch. Remember, this was just a 4-week kind of thing. But he would win. So, and he would tell me to hold his money sometimes. Like, don't let me use this. Don't let me use this. And I remember a time when he would do that. And he would come back. And that's when I would see him get angry. And he'd be like, give me the money. And I'd be like, no, you said don't let you cash in. You know what I mean?
He had a problem.
He had a problem. He had a problem. But I was 20. If you've never seen it before, you don't know what this is. And this is why I'm telling this story, because I need y'all to see the signs that 20-year-old Roxanne did not see. And it got worse because I didn't see the sign. I'm back. We getting through my hair. But look, so I'm going to pick up where we left off in part 5. But I brought my whole folder with me again while I'm getting my hair done right. And so remember I told y'all, I haven't gone through in 28 years since this, as I titled it here, the year changed my life. Ooh. I didn't realize this is, look, let me cover this. December 17th, 2021. This was a parole board when they were trying to parole him. I was a smart 20-something-year-old. So if this was 2021, that happened in 97, 4 years later. So I was 24, 23, 24, 25. So I'm looking at this, trying to read this. Let me cover. I don't want y'all to be going looking for him. So I typed up all this myself. Look at this. The day that changed my life, my recovery, my present status. I've had several plastic surgeries. I will talk about that. Montel Williams paid for a few of the plastic surgeries on my scars. Future plastic surgeries, children, psychiatric health, and why he shouldn't be released. So I didn't even get into this yet, but look. I was like, oh, what is this? I thought this was actually something like that the place gave me. This was me. So tell your 20-year-olds, any of this, document. I'm going to share this later on because we're not there in the story. So let's get back to him and what his mama said to me when I called her and was in shock. You know, the last one was that I called her and said, hey, because Brianna is only 9 and the police is coming to your house late and I want you to know, and her saying to me, be glad you didn't end up like the rest of them. So I've been using what I typed up to help guide my story. So that was the breakup. And so really the next phase after that is where he began to stalk me. And back then, this was 97. So this was the end of February. So we really only made it through less than 2 months of a relationship. It really was like 6 weeks. 6 weeks. But he spent more time stalking me after that. Now, I'm going to read from here. Nick began stalking me, calling me all the time, and begging me to be together again. Am I good? What the, am I moving? Okay. Y'all know when y'all getting, you can't be moving our head. I can't do all the moving, so I'm being good. He would sneak into, he would sneak into my building in the middle of the night and ring my doorbell, knock on the door, then hide in the stairwell. Oh my goodness. Hoping me to open the door. I remember this because look, he got to know my doorman. And certain neighbors would, you know, when you hold the door, when you go on the door and they just let you in. Because if you just walking up on a door and you see, y'all have seen the movies, right? Where if somebody's walking up, you assume you just hold your hand behind the door and let them in. He would do that. I remember I was on the 22nd floor. The 20-something. I feel like the 22nd came to me, the 22nd floor. Him hiding in my stairwell. I didn't have a neighbor on one side. This continued all the way up through April. I remember this time. So remember, we broke up. This was right before the end of February. The actual day that everything occurred was April 3rd. So all of the end of February into March felt like forever. I'm realizing like, oh, that's not as long. So it's almost like the same amount of time that we were together, he stalked me. For some reason, it felt longer. But as I reflect back, remember, I'm still in school. I'm a junior am I a junior? Wait, 97? I graduated 98. Yes, I'm a junior. I'm a junior in school. So it was weird to me. And I think I had already, at some point in this time leading up to the 3rd, I started dating someone else. But before that, I would see him. I would look out my window, and this shit was so weird, y'all. I would see him, and he would just wave. And I'm on the 20-something floor, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, why can't he get over me? Like, I'm in my 20s. I'm not thinking. I remember him saying stuff like, I can't live without you. Remember Blackstreet was out, and the Blackstreet song, don't leave me. If you leave, I'll go crazy. I'll go insane. Dun, 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 do, 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 don't leave. That's it. Yes, the Blackstreet song. Y'all know on the live the other night that came on, and I was like, no, I'm gonna push through and sing this song because I like the song. But that is that some kind of sick thing? I don't know, but I like the song. But he would say the same thing. But he also, at one point, we were in a car chase through the city. He was following me in Newark, East Orange, that whole area. He chased me in the car. I remember going through a red light. One time, I was in the grocery store. I was in the grocery store with the guy I was then dating. And he popped up in the grocery store. And I remember trying to tell him, like, no, he's just weird. I don't know why he's still following me around. Now, at this time, I went back to my type. Hey, Billy. Hey, Eshawn. Yeah, his real name was Billy. His real name was Eshawn, but they called him Billy. So I ain't seen him since not too long after. Because let me tell you, I'm going to jump ahead real quick and come back. After the stabbing, because of how messed up I looked, he didn't call me. We didn't reconnect till later. Like, he thought I was never going to be beautiful again. That was, okay, we're going to fast forward back. Anyway, so he was stalking, following, and finally I'm like, okay, I guess I got to get a restraining order. A lot of people may say restraining orders make them matter. They do, but let me tell you, when they caught him, when he violated, so right here I have, on March 17th, I signed a complaint with the Patterson Police Department for a threat I received from him threatening to kill me. So that's when he started threatening to kill me, March 17th, right? This is the same day I obtained a restraining order. Then on March 24th, the East Orange Police arrested him for stalking me. So the arrest was the 24th. The stabbing was the 3rd. So you probably wondering, how was he arrested? How'd you get? I know y'all gonna ask about Eshawn, Billy. He was super cute. So he was the cute boy that didn't need the hustle, but he did. And this was when the song by Mary J. Blige, I think Everything was out then. I forget, because this was 97. Or maybe I'm going back to when we got together. I might be mixing the timeline up because we was together, the stabbing happened, he didn't call me and stuff, and then we got back. So let me come back. But anyway, I liked Eshawn a lot. He gave me street and gave me good boy and gave me cute. And he lived with his mama, but his mama was divorced. But what I remember about her was that she took her trash out every night. She didn't play them games about keeping food in the thing overnight. And she had a real slim fit body. She was just going through a divorce from his dad. And she was all about, like, I think she was in her 40s. Because if I was like 20, then yeah, I admired her as a woman, how she was handling her looks, her household, that whole thing. So I remember that time. It's just crazy because as I'm reflecting, I'm like, dag, I really do like hot. Like, if you're not working for me as a man, like I really did. Hot. And I'm saying this because this is not planned, because maybe this will resonate with females. Like, sometimes you need some break in between. Because I did that and got right into, but that lets you know how serious I wasn't taking what Nick was saying to me. I wasn't taking the stalking serious. I wasn't taking him being outside my window, him in my stairwells. And y'all probably like, bitch, that's crazy. That's a lifetime. I was 20. I had never experienced that. But as I'm thinking back, if that was my daughter, you outside the window of her building and she looking out at night and you waving, that's kooky. Now we found out later what he was doing. I'm hopping, so stick with me. Once we got into court, don't worry, I'm gonna come back to the day of what happened. But once we got into court, I found out that during that time he was in such a depressed state, which is why it got dropped from an attempted murder to aggravated assault. He had an appointment with a psychiatrist the next day, but his boss said that he was like not coming into work anymore. His mom said he had locked himself into his room at some point, and it was just getting really bad. I didn't know he was going through that, because to me it's like, bruh, like we dated 6 weeks. That's it. That's all. Mm-hmm. I'm 20. Granted, I thought he was just a few years older than me. I didn't find out until everything's being revealed in court that he was really 32. So for me, it's not like, and people would joke after all of this, guys out me like, your stuff must really be good, making niggas want to kill you. And that was funny, but it's like, she said, what? Any of y'all can relate to that, where they said that, and it's like, he, but it's like, now it's like, nah,
that shit ain't cute.
That shit ain't cute at all. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't learning things until it began to unfold in the courtroom. But those 6 weeks leading up to April 3rd, so look what I found, y'all. Remember I told you, journal entries. I was logging everything for like a year, from the status conferences, everything. So I want to use this real quick before we get into the actual day of what happened, to kind of just retrace. So met him in early December 1996. Remember, talked to him, didn't like him. The first red flag was that I said in my notes he felt like he was trying to be my dad. But for some reason, and I don't know what happened in between, I ignored that red flag and went out with him New Year's Eve, and everything. What did I say? I said that was the best time of my life. I had never been so happy. I'm cooking, I'm massaging, I'm doing all this stuff at 20. He gambling, I'm going down with him. Okay, so that was all New Year's Eve, January. By the time we get 30 days in, beginning of February, I'm realizing, something's off, right? So we get to the third week in February. That's when I broke up with him. That's when he snapped out. That was the first attack. That's when I told his mama. And his mama was like, be glad you ain't end up like the rest of them. And then the first incident report was 226. 317, there was an incident in Patterson report. That's where he came to my house. It says several times, and I had beeper messages. And then 324. Maybe I need to pull the police reports. I want to see the police reports. Should I try to pull the police report and see what they said? I might get mad because, they don't be putting down what they need to. They don't be putting down what they need to. I put, what can be done by my landlord? Like, I was at 20 trying to navigate this, and really as a 20-year-old not filling my parents in. I can't imagine my 22-year-old daughter navigating this, because they had already said, remember, when I brought him home, they said, we don't like him. They said, we don't like him. Like, why? So, when you're 20, you don't want to be proving your parents right. And I honestly didn't think I was in any danger. Even when he was saying, I can't live without you, and threatened to kill me, I knew enough to go, well, let me call the police. Let me do this. But I also don't like the fact that I moved on so quick, with another relationship. And that was the early stages. But maybe sometime, how they say, like, it helps you get over what you're going through. But that lets you know it really wasn't that serious to me. Mm-hmm. It really wasn't that serious. But to him, he was crashing out. As we say now, 28 years later, he was crashing out. And I'm over here having no clue, trying to still live my best life with him popping up in my stairwell, popping up outside my window, popping up at the grocery store. I was in a whole freaking car chase through my own city, running red lights with him. And it didn't click to me that, Roxanne, you need to tell your parents. This shit ain't normal. So by 324, they put him in jail. And then he called my mom. So look, this is, I believe, part 7. Part 8, I'm walking you through what happened that day, April 3rd. April 2nd, he called my mom. I did not know that he called my mom. His sister or his mama had bailed him out of jail right away. They got him out of jail. So remember, March 24th, they took him, they bailed him out of jail. So he was out on bail. I was home on spring break not too long after. I have my picture from the last time I didn't have any stab wounds, and I was holding my niece. My niece was only a few months old. Matter of fact, if I can pull it, I'm going to insert it here. This was Roxanne a few days before In my notes, I call it my murder. So I'm going to walk y'all through what led to these pictures being 6 days after the attack. It was 37 minutes of torture. And for me, the reason why I want to literally take myself back and relive it is because so many young girls don't get, because I didn't get, it wasn't on my bingo card. I never would have thought, even though he's saying, I will kill you, that he was going to kill me. Like, get over it. You got to take it serious. Because so many aren't as lucky as I am. This is a 28-year-old scar. People think it's a thyroid scar. I got stabs here, stabs in my back. I don't know, the camera froze. Stabs in my back. This is a whole, look at this, 3 to 4 weeks later. This was one of the wounds going down. But for my mama to not want to take pictures of me till 6 days later, for them not wanting me to look at myself in the mirror, for the man I was with, the boyfriend I had at the time, to not stop answering. He came to see me in the hospital and then to stop answering my calls. So I want to walk y'all through the entire attack. So just know, before you tap on part 8, it's going to be graphic. It might be a part 8 and part 9. I'm going to put viewer discretion or whatever on it. But it's really to walk you through. And maybe it's therapeutic for me, but I'm going to replay because I was in and out of consciousness. My mom called during the time. Like, there's so many pieces. His daughter was at home during the attack. He lived in the basement of his mama's house, and his daughter was upstairs. They weren't supposed to be home. So I'm going to walk you through how I ended up in his basement, what he did to me while I was there, and why he thought I was dead, and how they followed a blood trail, my blood that was on him, to his cousin's house where he was hiding when they picked him up. And he said, I killed that bitch. I killed that bitch. He was admitting he thought I was dead. I'm going to tell you how this motherfucker called me in the hospital while I was recovering. So if you aren't equipped, don't tap on number 8. So look, this is, I believe, part 7. I was going to wait till tomorrow, but I keep thinking about it and overthinking how to tell it. And I'm just going to read from the 20-year-old that wrote this about that day. I'm just going to read it. And then in the parts that come back after, I'll fill in the blanks. So, April 2nd, I didn't know that he tried to call my mom until later. April 3rd, I spoke with Nick that morning, and we finally came to an agreement of him paying me $150 for my mother's phone she gave me, which he broke on February 26th. Remember, that was the day. That was the first initial. He wanted to know what time I would be coming to pick up the money. Now, also remember, I had books or something that was it in his car. Somehow there were some books. And, okay, I'll be coming to pick up. I would not tell him I didn't not want to see him. Wait, let me, fuck. Okay. I spoke with Nick that morning, and we finally came to an agreement on him paying me $150 for my mother's phone she gave me, which he broke on February 26th. That was the first day he attacked, choked me out, all of that, called his mama. Mama was like, you ain't end up like the rest of them that day. He wanted to know what time I'll be coming by to pick up the money and the few books that I had left. He would be leaving it in a mailbox on the front porch outside of his house. Now, his house, the way their house was in Patterson, New Jersey, mind you, I lived in East Orange, New Jersey. Patterson, you had to hop on the Garden State to head up. Their house has had a whole bunch of steps, like, you know, when it's like 2 layers of concrete steps leading up with a landing in between. And his mother had a front porch full of like plants, her sewing machine, like the enclosed porch before, like the porch was a whole, like, what's it called, a summer room, a something room before you go into the main house. Now, he wanted to know what time I was coming, but I said I would not tell him because I did not want to see him. He told me he had to take his daughter somewhere. I recall, I think it was a doctor's appointment before 10. So in my mind, I figured I would stop by while he was gone. Plus, I had to get a copy of the police report from March 27th. Anyway, now you probably wondering, girl, he was already outside. I know I am. 48-year-old Roxanne is like to 20-year-old Roxanne, did you really need the money that bad? Couldn't you have got it from me, Sean, aka Billy? Couldn't you got it from? But guess what? I didn't want to entangle him in that. I didn't want him to know, other than him seeing at the grocery store, I was dealing with a true crazy, I guess. And I didn't tell my parents. So, okay, here we go. Bear with me. When I arrived at his house, I parked at the end of the block just in case he was home, and I did not want him to hear my car pull up. When I began walking up the front steps to the mailbox, Nick came out of the side of the house and he grabbed me by my neck. He dragged me into the basement and into his bedroom. After raping me, which he did by choking my neck the entire time, I remember this fucking... He gave me a wash rag and told me to have a great day at school. He also told me not to forget the money and my books. On the way out, I really thought he was going to allow me to leave. I wasn't even going to report the rape. This is what I said. And I'm going to take you back. I don't know what I did when he pulled me in, but I remember shifting into a place where I had to play like I'm not going to fight and I'm just going to go along with this. And I think with rape, whether you know the person or not, it's easier to just lay there and let them do what they have to do. And I remember that rape. I remember when you're scared, your vagina's not wet. And so that part makes rape harder. And I remember him force himself and me zoning out and feeling like that's all he wanted. Okay. But I also remember this next part so clearly without reading it, but I need to read it. While I was putting my clothes on, out of the blue, he hit me hard as hell. I do not know what he hit me with. I remember buckling my bra. That's what I know I was putting on. Oh gosh, I'm getting a headache. It felt like he picked up the TV from the dresser in front of the bed and knocked me out. But later they told me, and especially since, okay, let me stay. I don't know what he hit me with or whatever. It made me instantly urinate on myself and become dizzy. I remember falling onto the bed and him just choking me and choking me and choking me. I kept fading in and out of consciousness, and I remember there were moments when I would try to fight, but when you're being choked, you have no oxygen to get to your muscles to fight. And as I'm thinking about this, my daddy taught me how to fight. And one of the things my dad said to me, when I finally, I know I'm happy I made it back home, he said, why didn't you fight? Why did you let him mess up your face? My dad is gone now, and Daddy, just know I did fight. Daddy, I couldn't fight. Daddy, I couldn't fight. I couldn't fight. I mean, when I say my daddy was a fighter, my daddy had me in karate class when I was in 4th grade. I was dressed really nice, and I was walking home with 2 girls who I thought were my friends. And they were like, we're going to beat you up because you dress nice. And I ran home in my penny loafers. And my daddy made me go out in my good clothes back to their house and fight each of them. That's my daddy. So I knew how to fight. And I let him down because I couldn't fight. And that sticks with me because he felt like he couldn't be. I'm his 20-year-old. He knew what was going on. He was in Pennsylvania. So in between and out of conscious, I remember at one point I was able to come up, but I collapsed on the floor. And this motherfucker was on top of me. So imagine you be face down, laid down, and your head's down, and you're being choked from the back. You can't fight.
fight. He was sitting on top of me, straddling me on the ground, choking me. I remember feeling the blood coming out of my head. Later on, they told me that's when you have an injury to your brain. This is why, y'all, I study so much, because after they didn't know what kind of brain damage I would have. Wait, I'm okay. Don't cry for me. Don't cry for me. I'm okay. Don't cry for me. We got to get through this whole 37 minutes of him torturing this motherfucker. I need y'all to know. It's monsters out there. It's monsters out there. And it's... I gotta catch my breath. I can't breathe. This is the part where I remember when, for anyone who you felt like you were going to lose your life, there comes a moment where everything's slow motion, and you have a talk with whoever, whatever creator you believe in. And at this point, still early in the attack, I felt like he's on top of me, strangling me from the back, squatting over me. I could fight. I could fight. And I remember looking at the blood, and I remember it slow. The crazy part is this moment of remembering the blood is what has made me black out and made me literally go red for years to come. It's the part that when I would share part of my story with people, they would try to use it to trigger me. Because when I seen red flashing back to what happened to me, that's all I would see when I defended myself or somebody triggered me. But I'm in a healed space now. But when I seen that, I remember saying, I remember it like it was yesterday. I remember it in slow motion. God, tell my mommy and daddy I love them. You go back to being a child. Tell my mom and dad I love them. And I remember then giving up. And then I got mad. I got mad at God because I was like, why am I still breathing? Why am I still suffering? Why? Why? See, I remember talking to God saying, why am I still alive? I can't breathe, so why am I alive? I seen blood running from my ears, which means I felt it running from my ears, my lip, and my nose. And I guess something happened in that moment, because it was like, so I can't just tap out like this. Okay, God. And something took over and I began fighting back. I began fighting back the best I could, but it was difficult because I couldn't breathe. We rolled over the bed and onto the floor beside his stereo and phone. I tried to grab his black night lamp to hit him with it, but he knocked it out of my hand. He also knocked the phone off of the hook. Listen to later to only find out, because I remember the time on the clock, when that phone got knocked off the hook. I'm getting hot, y'all. I'm getting hot. I'm doing this now. I'm doing the whole of this day, so I get my lashes touched up tomorrow. Oh, child. Okay, come on. I had to pause. I had to pull it together. In that moment, I found out later my mom was calling him back. She said she was pacing at work, trying to figure out why. Fuck, she ain't say this. This is my version of a mama. Why did he call me? Why did he call? So she was calling back to try to talk to him. Listen to the mother's instinct. She called. When she later told me the time she called, I remember the time on the clock when I had the moment of trying to fight back, trying to escape. If she would have called a minute sooner, that phone might have got knocked off the hook when it was ringing, because it probably would have been like, ring, ring. And I probably would have jumped harder. And my mom, she would have heard she would have heard me being tortured. So I thank God that she called after, because she said she got a busy, you know, when the old school phone would be off the hook. That's what she heard. See, I said it right here. Later to find out my mom was calling at the same time when he knocked the lamp and everything down. I remember the clock saying 11 something. It was before 11:15. More choking and hitting upside my head and what I thought was a TV and stereo. That's what it felt like. I don't know what he was hitting me with. My eyes were already... I remember I couldn't see good. They were swelling. I opened my eyes and could barely see because of all the blood. I remember fading in and out of consciousness several times. At one point, he left when I was out of consciousness, and I woke up and he had made a sandwich. He had went out to make a sandwich, this sick motherfucker, and was standing over me eating the sandwich. Once when I opened my eyes, I grabbed his, I don't know if I can say this word, penis hard, and I squeezed it. But it only made him more angry. So once when I opened my eyes, I grabbed his penis hard and squeezed it, but it only made him more angry. I watched his hand go by my left outer thigh. He cut me, but I did not see with what, nor did I feel it. This motherfucker is definitely trying to kill me. He really is. Now, I remember, so y'all, this is what's crazy. I remember the times where that this is not in there, and I probably purposely didn't, because this was something I typed up for the detectives. I had a box cutter on me, and I had a stun gun. Because I had family that was trying to protect me. I was like, I got this crazy guy. I don't want to worry my mom. I don't want to worry my dad. That scar on my thigh, I don't have it here. Can I pause this? Yeah, hold on. The scar on my thigh. I felt him cut it so slow. Now, this is 3 to 4 weeks after. I still have it, but it's not as visible. After several surgeries, that's how it healed. But I remember watching him. In my mind, everything felt like slow motion. Certain instances where I remember feel like slow motion. And he was using my box cutter. Then the hospital, now even though I gave them this, they had the hospital report. So they later found out, they thought the stun gun was his, the stun gun was mine. Doesn't matter now. So he took what I took with me. Crazy part is I was all prepared, but I wasn't prepared with it out. I don't know what... I probably had gut instincts I wasn't listening to. I knew to park down the street, right? I knew to have a stun gun and a box cutter on me, but I didn't walk up to the door having it out and being prepared. He then just took the stun gun and started torturing. He started torturing me with the stun gun and said, I'm going to kill you, bitch. I remember him saying different things. Nobody's ever going to want you. When I think back, that motherfucker was crazy. Which is it? You won't kill me or nobody going to want me? You know, now I'm this 48-year-old Roxanne. Crazy part is he's 60 now, y'all. He was 12 years older than me. He's 60 now. We're not done with the attack. Let's continue. More choking, more fighting. I made it over to his bedroom door trying to escape, but he pulls me back down. More choking. Finally, I escape and run up the stairs shouting for his daughter, Brianna, to call the police. Y'all, I remember this. I don't know how. I could not see nothing. My eyes was so swollen. There was so much blood. I was naked. I remember, I don't know how, what he was doing, but just close your eyes. Close them. Imagine you in a room, all this, you don't know. It's like the movies when they be free and they start fucking running. The adrenaline, I don't know. Now, mind you, we didn't know until later that he had pumped me with drugs. We found this out later on at the hospital. Mom was like, my daughter don't do no drugs. So he had injected me with drugs, which is why they didn't treat me right away at the hospital, but I'm going to come back to that. So I remember running up them steps from the basement. Mind you, I had never been, I don't recall ever being to his house. Never. I don't recall it. Maybe I was, I don't recall. Maybe it's something I blocked out. And I remember running and yelling, and I'm trying to remember how I knew Brianna was there. I can't remember how, but I remember running down this long hall. Brianna, call the police, call the police. And I remember him yelling. Did he tell her, shut the fuck up? Yeah, Brianna, keep your door closed, keep your door closed. I told her that her daddy was trying to kill me. This is a 9-year-old. This was 28 years ago. I told her daddy was trying to kill me. I ran and tried to open the front door, but I couldn't see the lock or the knob because of all of the blood. I remember in this moment, you feel like you free. Like after being tortured for 37 minutes. That's the time frame they believe. Based on when I noticed the clock moments to when they found me. And you get there and you can't see to open all the locks. His mama had all them locks and things, and I curled up. He started stabbing me with what I later found out were sewing scissors all through my neck. I just remember this. I gave up again. It was like a roller coaster ride. It really, thinking I'm free 2 different times and I'm not. And I remember curling up. I don't even gotta look at this paper. I'm gonna come back and read it to confirm my memory. When they say you curl up in fetal position, and look at this one finger, you may not see it, but some of the original cuts, it's kind of there. I had so many cuts on my hands. I curled up. She had a sofa on this enclosed front porch. After he's stabbing me, which explained all these after cuts. This is 6 days later. They're just like jabs. Just a whole bunch of short jabs. I got it. Wait. I curled up in fetal position. See? He caught up to me and began stabbing me with his mother's scissors viciously in the right side of my neck. Then once I realized that I could not get out the door, he began hitting me with his mother's potted plants. I remember this. He would hit me and then dump the dirt on top. I curled up. This animal was trying to bury me. I curled up on the couch they had on this sun porch and covered my face, and I tried playing dead. Like I did when he was trying to kill me in the basement, but he just kept on hitting me. These are my 20-year-old words. Why couldn't I die so this could be over? Why couldn't I die so this could... 2 times I talked to God and said, Just let me go. 28 years ago, and I asked God 2 times. I even here at 20, obviously it was definitely not my time to go. I heard Brianna, whose room was right beside the sun porch, open the door to ask her daddy what was going on. When he ran to get her, I do not remember getting up to escape. All I remember is white light, a girl with pigtails like an angel, floating, telling me to come. I don't remember what happened. I don't remember the time lapse. It clearly wasn't too long. But at some point, I was found in the middle of an intersection, a block down, naked. 2 guys were working on their cars, and to this day, I wish I could find who they were. They covered me with a sheet until the police and ambulance arrived. Now later, let me tell you, this little girl that I seen, when my mom showed me a picture later, was my mother's baby sister. My mom was one of 12 kids. She was 3rd from the youngest. The youngest, Cynthia, died when she was 12. Some mean-ass kids. She had chocolate, beautiful skin, long hair. My mom and her family had moved from Mississippi after my grandfather, who I never met, passed away. They moved from Mississippi to Pennsylvania. And the kids were bullying her. And I found out this story after. But when I described who I seen, my mom or my godmother, one of them showed me a picture. And I said, that's her. That's who I seen. Later on, I found out that he had tried, you could tell he didn't plan this part of it, to dig a shallow grave to put me in. They asked me how I got out. I said, I don't remember him putting me in the dirt. The last I remember, I was here on the sofa. I'm sitting here thinking as I read this, I asked God 2 times. This is why I know there's so much more for my life. Because my life could have been done. And as much as I begged 2 times, just let me go, he didn't. I don't think I fully grasped that importance after everything. I'm going to talk about what happened in the hospital because that motherfucker didn't stop then. I will talk about, I'm going to take a break now, y'all. I'm going to talk about how they called him. Oh, God. I got it out, y'all. I got it out. I did it.
So this is part 11. And I'm doing it while cooking, so then maybe I won't get so emotional. And I need to multitask, okay? So part 10 left off where it was the second time that I asked God to let me die. I felt like that was it. I tried to escape 2 times, and it didn't work. And the white light that I seen, oh gosh, chills. It's crazy because the white light that I'm seeing and told that, okay, let me not jump ahead. Let me go back. So I remember ending up in the middle of an intersection. I don't remember going down a bunch of steps. Remember I talked about all those steps that led up to his mom's house? I don't remember going down those steps. I don't remember Nick putting me into a shallow grave. I don't remember any of that. I just remember kind of
floating. I seen a white light and a little girl with pigtails like this going. And I just remember floating, and it was a lot of white light. I don't know if that's something that's common, that people who, I don't know if you want to say crossover, or if that's an in-between space, what that is. But I know that's what I seen. And then there were two men, and I must have still been able to see a little bit, well, maybe not, maybe it was just their voices. Well, no, because I remember that they were working on their cars. I don't know if that's what I seen or what I heard or what they told me later what they were doing. I do remember being in an ambulance. I remember them yelling. I remember them stopping traffic because he lived at an intersection, stopping traffic. Remember, this is close to lunchtime when this is happening, because it happened from like 11 to 11:37 a.m. Don't judge me on no cooking right now, y'all. I'm not cooking this for you, so please don't judge me on no cooking right now. I got, if you're wondering, it's okra and onions in here, and I got food in the oven. I remember being in the ambulance, and I feel like that's when I blacked out. Because in the ambulance, let me give you a time frame. This is before noon. My mom, fast forward, tells me later that she was out pacing because it was weird to her. Remember, I told you she called during the attack, but the phone was off the hook. She didn't know what was going on. The phone was off the hook. So she said she was out pacing, and something was on her heart. I guess a mother's heart, the mother-daughter connection. She said she was out pacing. And she said they called her to the phone and told her, you have a phone call. I think this had to be after 12 at some point. I don't even remember how they got my mama's number from me, if it was in my phone. Yeah, I don't remember any of that. But what I do remember, laying in the, I don't remember the hospital. I don't remember seeing anybody. So I remember busyness around. And the main thing I remember is, why is there so much dirt on her? Why is there so much dirt on her? There was busyness. And then I remember no one really doing much to me. I remember darkness, probably because my eyes at that point were swollen shut. I don't remember anybody's face. No nurse, no nobody. I remember being in an area that did not feel like a room. Maybe it just was in my mind. I was in a dark place. But when I heard my mother's voice, she screamed. And my mom told me when they called her, I guess the emergency room, whatever, they told her I'd been beat up really bad. So she told me she was not expecting to arrive and see me the way she seen me. I was hoping to get my mom to give you the mother's perspective. I don't know. She couldn't even watch these. She couldn't even watch them because I'm sharing stuff that I've never shared. Even when I publicly spoke about my attack, I've never shared a lot of these details. So she said, oh, wait a minute, let me make sure I move my okra before I got some burnt okra. I don't want to have no burnt okra. She said she came in and she screamed. She was like, she thought bruises, not stabbed up. She said I was laying on the table, and she said, why is there so much dirt? Why is there so much dirt? I remember her yelling, and I remember me saying, Mom, like, I have no concept of time. But what I do know is, once my mom arrived, they started working on me. They thought, I found out later, I was a drug addict because he had injected me with heroin. He had been using drugs. So when he was going through this whole withdrawing depression from a 6-week relationship, which clearly was rooted in other stuff, he injected me with drugs he already was using, which explains why in court it's what got him diminished capacity, because his boss was saying he was acting weird at work. I think his mother said at one time he was peeing and pooping in his room. I'm like, is that the room he was torturing me in? I don't remember that. So my mom worked for the state. I'm in Pennsylvania. You know, back then you worked for the state, you had good insurance. My dad worked for Amtrak. My dad was a conductor for Amtrak since the 70s when they wasn't hiring for Amtrak. So my parents had good insurance. So my mom showed up with both them cards. Like, why is she back here laying on her and nobody's taking care of her? But because back then, we're talking 1997, I'm in Paterson, New Jersey. A lot of drugs in Paterson, New Jersey. They were treating me, this is another layer to the story, treating me like I was a druggie. Not that they should be treated any differently, but it lets you know that they do, because that's what they thought. Now, remember how I looked.
Hold on, I'm gonna get the picture. Remember how I looked? This is how I looked 6 days after, because my mother, no matter how much I begged her to take pictures, she didn't. I don't know if the detectives took pictures. I don't know any of that. This is how I look 6 days after. So this is me cleaned up. This is me cleaned up 6 days after. The ring light's on. 6 days after. So imagine how I looked when they got me in the ambulance and I'm covered in dirt. And this is me cleaned up. This is me. This is 6 days after. This is after I'm released from the hospital. You can see the fan. I was probably stopped back by my apartment before they took me back to Pennsylvania. So, oh, wait a minute. If that was how I look cleaned up, then they get me at the ER and they find drugs in my system. And also, how are they treating it when they find out I'm a druggie? I don't know if they knew it was intimate partner violence. At that time, we called it domestic violence. I remember being put in a room. I don't know if it was that night. I remember them covering the mirror or removing the mirror. Mom, you have to remind me. Because they didn't. I was like, let me see my face. My daddy always taught me, don't you ever, when you fight, let nobody mess up your face. Okay? Now, what he did during the time of torturing me, we kept discovering wounds in the hospital bed. And remember, the next day they would come in and go, wait a minute, what is this on your neck? They were so incompetent, I guess, in examining me, didn't examine, and you can't really see them anymore. I had so many puncture wounds and dirt covering them. And I remember at one point, let me go back, on this bed in whatever room in the ER or whatever room they had me in, where the dirt, they told me, this is going to burn. We got to clean you off because some of the potting soil and things that he used had bugs in it. So there were bugs getting in, and you've seen the scar on my leg, right? How big, I'm trying to get the pictures out, how big this gash was. Now, this is 3 to 4 weeks later. My leg was busted wide. They could barely get this closed, right? So it was bugs and stuff in my scars, in my wounds. I wasn't even a scar then because it wasn't healed. And I remember whatever they poured on me, y'all nurses, y'all medical in the ER, it burned. And I remember yelling. I'm not gonna cry tonight, y'all. I got my lashes done again. It burned. I couldn't see nothing. It burned. Whatever they were pouring over me, I guess to disinfect me, because they couldn't scrub the wounds because things are open. He slit my neck. He slit my wrist. These were things he was doing, torturing me during that 37 minutes when I was in and out of consciousness. The stabs here were when I tried to escape. This scar down my leg, that was, remember I told you, I felt and watched him do that. My back, look, my back, that was him when I was trying to get out of the door. The lip, him doing this to my lip and me having... So the stabs in the back, some of the areas, my lip was 2 lips. This scar on my forehead, who knows what this was. If he did that, if I was knocked over the head, my lip was cut across. And the stab, you can see it there. See that mark? That's where it came out. But this bottom lip, I still have the lump in my lip, but you can still see the line where they had to do plastic surgery. Matter of fact, I remember when I was on the table and they were like, I think one of the reasons they had told my mom they also were waiting, they were like, we had to call the plastic surgeon. They needed a plastic surgeon to come. I guess if I would go through my medical records, I could see all of that detail. I don't know if I ever pulled my full medical records. I have the initial report. So a lot of that was blurry, but I remember pieces. And what I remember the most is them discovering new stab wounds every day. I was in the hospital 6 days before. Hold on, let me see. 5 days, 6 days. Here it is. Oh, that's what. 5 days. 5 days. 5 days. I had a timeline, y'all. Look. Going back remembering. This okra is smelling so good. So this is the twist. 1, while I don't remember everyone, I remember 2 things. I remember the boyfriend I was with, Eshawn. Remember Eshawn, nicknamed Billy? I remember him coming to see me. I remember wanting to call him. And I remember his shock. And I remember him no longer returning my calls. No longer return my calls. I'm going to fast forward because we end up getting back together. I learned from Dr. Dawn on our live tonight, Dr. Dawn on the Real, who is a licensed psychologist and certified trauma therapist, that was my way, how I went on and continued to date, which I'll talk about in upcoming parts. That was my way of denial and avoidance. Even me getting mad at the therapist that I was seeing with PTSD. So I'm going to take that PTSD off my record. I'm fine. I'm good because I was raised to be strong. My daddy raised a strong girl. So you wasn't going to have that PTSD on my record. That's how I felt. But let me tell you. So not only did Billy or Eshawn, a.k.a. Eshawn, a.k.a. Billy, anyway, stopped returning my calls. Never came back to the hospital. But on April 8th, same day I was released, so they released me back to Pennsylvania, to come to Hershey, I think it was Hershey Med, to get my other stuff taken care of. My mom wanted to get me back here. Guess who called me in the hospital? From jail. Oh, I gotta tell y'all how they called him. Okay. He called me, and I thought it was my dad, because he said, hey, baby girl, or something like that. My mom is the one who remembers this. I think I blocked that out. So I'm retelling my mom said, and by on my notes say, called me day I was released. My mom told me, you thought it was your dad because he said, hey, baby, or hey, baby girl, or something like that. And I said, hey, dad. And it was him. I don't remember what I said, what he said, when I realized it was him, but that's how crazy he was. Called me from jail. How did he call me from jail? How did he get on the phone from jail? I thought they gotta like go, you are accepting a personal call. How did he get on? Who knows? Maybe his crazy ass mama and crazy ass sister, who looked like Grimace, maybe they took his call and then called me on the three-way. Because y'all tell me in these comments, back then in 97, you couldn't just call from jail, right? Didn't the person have to accept the calls? He was in county jail though, right? Like, wait a minute, my food's beeping. Wait, I need a glove. Wait a minute. Don't you have to, I think this offer is done. Didn't you have to actually have have an approval, like on the call? You know what I mean? Like have somebody, oh, these ain't ready yet. Have somebody accept the charges. Because how did he get to the hospital? And I guess back then they could just say your name. Wait. So, yeah. Okay, so anyway, I'm looking at my notes here. So, what did I say? I wanted to go back to how they caught him. Now, how they caught him was what was told to me by my detective, they revealed that to me. They found him not too long after it happened, when the gentleman that found me middle of the intersection, end of his block, and remember, I parked my car at the end of the block. I'm at the end of the block. His house was, I would say, at the opposite end. He wasn't really in the middle. He was towards the end, like 3/4 way down. So that's why when later on they were like, how did you get out of the grave? Like what you mean? I didn't know I was in no grave. I was on the sofa last I remember. How did you get down the block? What? I don't know how. I seen white light and a little girl with pigtails. Now, because of course the hospital staff had told them that I had drugs in my system, later on, I think the court system treated me differently because of that. They didn't believe that I didn't do drugs. This motherfucker injected me with heroin. Like, what the? Wait, did I take this out? Okay, yeah, wait, let me mix around this. So, okay, okay, so this is what they told me. So remember, this is 6 days. This is 6 days after. This is 6 days after. He had cut my hair. Now, mind you, was I rocking weave then? I don't know when I forget if I was rocking weave then, if I got in the weave after that. I think I got in the weave after that to cover up my back. They said they found him down the street from the blood trail that was on him. Now, I gotta imagine with whatever he was doing, that the dirt on him, the whatever, but he was at his cousin's house, listen to this, down the street, hiding behind the sofa. And when they caught him, he said, yeah, I killed that bitch. I killed her. That's a confession, right? This is going to be important later. Is that a confession? So he thought
I was dead. So I'm thinking, I guess he put me in this shallow grave and then he ran to hide. This is the question I know y'all having. Where's Brianna? The 9-year-old daughter who was in the room. Where's Brianna? I'm assuming his mama and his sister were at work. He lived in the basement. His mom and his daughter lived on the main floor. His sister lived on the second floor. So I'm assuming the mom lived on the first floor. Maybe the mom lived, no, his sister lived on the third floor. I think the mom lived on the second, but Brianna was on the first floor. He was in the basement. What? Where was the daughter? Was she left at the house? Because now she's 37. We did the math the other night on the live. This happened 28 years ago. She was 9 at the time. I don't know when her birthday is. Maybe she's about to turn 10. I don't know. But she had to recall some of this. Some of this she had to recall by now. So he admitted that, and the initial charge was attempted murder. The initial charge was attempted murder. That was the initial charge. But I kept, y'all know I got my handy dandy folder out. I kept a kind of log of how them charges kept dropping. So I'm gonna jump ahead a little bit with the charges. Look, like I kept, and then in my notes, so he had this is when it dropped. First degree, this was a first degree aggravated sexual assault, attempted murder. Second degree aggravated assault, third degree stalking, and possession of a weapon. They got him on possession of the weapon that I had. I was not confessing to the stun gun. He used the stun gun on me. So that was the because I didn't know that was illegal in New Jersey at the time, the stun gun. They said worst case, he would get possibly 15 years, right? Wait till I tell you what he actually got because of this diminished capacity. Now, it took about 2 years before he pled, or a year and a half. We're going to get into that, but I wanted to give y'all this part tonight. So look, I came back to go down my timeline of things to extend this out a little bit more. So, all right. Here we go. Ooh. So let's go back a little bit. 2/26, first incident occurred, right? That's when I got when he did all that to me. That incident. That's when I got the restraint. I got the restraining order right away. Got the restraining order right when he first attacked me with the breakup, right? 3/17, there was another incident in Patterson. Get report. Came to my house several times. Beeper messages. 3/24. We're going to pull back up them incident reports because I want to see what happened then. Because we had the car chase. We had him in the grocery store. He was several times there. I'm tiptoeing around town, rearranging how I'm doing schedule because I never know when he's going to pop up. I can't imagine my 20-year-old daughter going through this and not telling me. I did not tell my mom most of this at all. I can't imagine my 22-year-old at 20 going through this and me not knowing because... So, what does this mean? Relisted. On 3/26, relisted because he's in Essex County. That was when they took him to jail for violating a restraining order. Then 4/1 told me I did not have to stay. They would send it to another court. So I must have went to court for some reason. Then 4/2, he called my mom. 4/3 is when this happened. It was a short distance, 3/26 to when he went to jail. I gotta see when they released him. I don't know if his sister or mama bailed him out the same time to when this happened. Yes, I went to the house. Did I give him the bait? But did I think that was going to happen? No, I didn't. So here, young girls here, was the $150 that I went to get in whatever school books he said I had there, and I was Know the signs. Listen to the signs. Listen to your gut. Nicole Bryant, Nicole with an E, last name Bryant, said to me, he thought he buried you when he really planted you. She said that oftentimes when we are young girls, we don't think we're people pleasing, and we ignore that inner voice. We ignore the inner voice that we have, and that's likely what I did. Look at this. 4/3, attempted murder in hospital. 4/8, called my hospital room. I was released. 4/9, talked to Beth Nardino. Who's this? Okay, talking about the charges. Look, I had the numbers. I was getting that. Everybody I talked to. Now, I put this timeline together later on. But on 4/18, so that was how many weeks after? 15 days after? 5 charges. Wow.
2 aggravated assaults, 1 attempted murder, 1 sexual assault, 1 weapons charge, plus a charge with the contempt of the restraining order. Oh, this motherfucker called me. He called me on 5-2. Nick called me. I got the phone number. I done put the phone number down he called from, and I put CAT&T phone bill. And then the next day, I filed a police report in East Orange. I gotta go look back. See police report. I think I was still home though. I gotta look at my thing. Police report. So I guess I called East Orange to file. I don't think I had went back. I remember my parents moving me out. We gonna fill the gap. But look, look what I had in my hand too. Remember how the rest of these parts, I've been going back and reading what 20-year-old me said. In that last one, I'm over here cooking. I'm just calling off the top of my dome. I'm gonna read what I wrote looks like this was weeks after probably. Me recalling what happened. Because I really couldn't open my eyes all the way until, remember, when you seen that picture 6 days out. So, I'm just glad that I, at the point, had the whatever to write this down and track this. Because I bet all of this would have been blocked. So, I'm reading 20-year-old Roxanne. Look at the handwriting. When you still write good, right? The first morning in the hospital was so hard. A nurse brought in the article in the local paper, which attempted to tell what happened. This article said that my injuries were not life-threatening. The nurses tried their best to clean me up because I still had dried up blood and dirt all over my body. I asked for a mirror, but they would not let me look at myself. I remember that. I told you, I don't know if they covered it, whatever they did, they would not let me look at myself. By the 3rd day in the hospital, I was able to walk again. Slowly, but with help, I could walk. Without the help, I would fall over due to my right eye being swollen shut and my left barely open. Then I tell you, that's what I remember with my eyes. In addition, due to the numerous head blows, dizziness would set in. And this is what later on my mom told me. When she got me back here, she took me to our doctors here. And when they told her I may have issues with memory and things like that with my brain. And then you fast forward here, several degrees, PhD, certified this, certified that. Like, shout out to Sony who said in my comments, now I know why you go so hard. Because can't nothing beat me if this didn't take me down. As I lay in the emergency room, so I think my papers got mixed up and I'm missing one. But as I lay in the emergency room naked, so maybe this was the first page. I read it backwards. I'm sorry. As I lay in the emergency room naked, covered in blood and dirt, I can hear the medical staff arguing about what to do with me first. One nurse wanted to get the rape kit out of the way, but the gynecologist took hours to come down. They were not allowed to do anything with me until the rape kit was complete. At this time, I began learning of my injuries just by hearing them based on the medical terminology being used in discussion. Now, remember, I was in school. I was a physical therapy major. Then I switched over. I was a physical therapy major for my first 3 years. I had no idea that I was cut. None whatsoever. Wow. I guess that I remember, but in that moment laying on I had no idea I was cut, none whatsoever. Because I was covered in soil and dirt, this potted soil, the staff had to rinse my cold, naked body off in peroxide, iodine, etc. in order for them to locate all of my cuts and stab wounds. Oh my God, the burning pain. I remember that. I remember that feeling. And I remember the screams I had. I remember that. And then I put in here, just imagine open gashes, not small cuts, but puncture wounds being rinsed in peroxide and brushed with some type of medical instrument to get the dirt out of the wound. I cried and cried and cried. After all of this being sutured, x-rayed, CAT scans, I finally got to see my mother at 8 p.m. that night. So 8 hours. I had spent 8.5 hours in the ER. I still did not make it into a hospital room until 10 p.m. that night, bandaged up and totally unaware of how I looked and how bad the damage was.
Now, I'm about to hunt for this page paper because I got an arrow. Maybe the arrow was to this when I said first thing in the morning. So I read it backwards, but I'm going to chop it there, y'all. I'm going to chop it there, and we're going to come back. And the additional pieces, I want to tell you, like, how the court system treated me, and how when you are a victim of crime, you know, it's one thing where the defense, they get to have their attorney, but you get the prosecutor. And the prosecutor want to get cases off the books. You know, and me not knowing, we didn't know that they had in their file that I had drugs in my system. So they were treating me like that. Like, her mama says she didn't do drugs, but whatever. But I did not know until we got an investigator. And the investigator said, you know, there was drugs in your system. It was like, what? So they were treating me like that. I didn't know while this was all going on. And even the initial first few months that I had, that their report showed drugs in my system until we had to get an investigator. So I'm going to talk about the follow-up, and the other ones just talk about my bounce back and what that looked like, and trying to understand how, as Dr. Dawn said, I was in denial and avoiding, and when I graduated and how I graduated. So it's been a minute. This is, I think, part 14 of In Love, Then Buried Alive, and it's been 2 months. The end of March, I shared what happened to me 28 years ago on April 3rd, 1997, where I went from being in love with someone at the age of 20 to dating for 6 weeks, realizing something was off, being beat, then stalked, kidnapped, raped, tortured for 37 minutes, stabbed 18 times, and then buried alive in a shallow grave. And I've shared that up to this point, and I apologize for leaving some of you hanging. Life started lifing, and I had to pull out of taking 48-year-old Roxanne out of diving so deep for, I think it was over 3 days. I recorded 14 parts. I couldn't do all the parts the way the girls do all the parts of the story time because life started lifing, and I had to come back to Roxanne, who has survived this, Roxanne, who has been through other things since then. And right now you're finding me, I'm sorry, I'm in pajamas. I woke up from my sleep this morning. I'm on here with morning breath and everything. I hope you can't smell it. I'm on here morning breath, everything. All I did was pull my bonnet off and come down and get on the sofa because I realized God said, today you got to finish it. Today you got to finish. You got to finish. So I have to go about my day, but I wanted to at least begin and put up a part or two before I dive back into telling the rest. Like what happened after. Part 14 ended where I believe I was talking about being in the hospital after the men found me naked in the street. And I believe I shared how his crazy ass, Nick, I don't know if I even ever shared his name. That's his first name is Nick. Nicholas called me in the hospital and said, hey, baby, and I thought it was my dad. So that's the level of sickness after they had just picked him up at his cousin's house. And he thought I was dead. And he was like, I killed that B-I-T-C. I killed her. I killed her. She deserved to die. He thought I was dead. He thought I was dead. That's important for you to remember when I share with you how this ended in terms of the legality and what kind of time he received. So y'all know throughout this, I had my little handy dandy folder guiding me back through because it's where I told the events. And I'm going to get that out. I'm going to get that back out. But I want to, before it's just kind of recall, it's a rainy day. It's crazy how God works. And just was like, he's been saying, I've known that I need to come back and finish this, but it wasn't until in my sleep that it came over me. Like you got to finish it now. You can finish it now. There's certain things in my life leveling out, and it's like, you can finish it now, because to be honest, I don't know, as I started the story out one way. I was strong. And then not that I got sad, but when I started remembering what 20-year-old me went through and thinking about my daughter who's 22, going to be 23 soon, like I could never imagine her going through that. And then thinking about how it's shaped me, who it's made me into. I don't know the tears that are about to come, what that's from. I think it's me like, wow, I went through that. I'm sad for me. But I do know that it's made me strong. It's made me who I am. But thinking about going through it and remembering who I was as a 20-year-old is still a lot. It's still a lot, so bear with me. I will insert the pictures briefly here, right now, of what I look like 6 days after leaving the hospital. I do remember them they continued to find stab wounds because I was covered in so much dirt. They couldn't get anything off. Like I told you in the other parts, I remember feeling this burning sensation when they were trying to clean me off with peroxide and other things. I couldn't open my eyes, but they wouldn't let me look in the mirror. I think they removed the mirror from the bathroom. I remember the guy I was dating at the time coming to see me and then stopped once I got back to Pennsylvania, returning my calls. He didn't want to have anything to do with me. So I'm thinking of that level of rejection and what it did to me, because a lot of you are probably thinking she probably never dated again. No, to the contrary. I continued dating, but we'll get to that. But this is what I look like 6 days after the attack. This was 6 days after the attack here. Now, I don't remember how I got back to Pennsylvania. Yes, my mother was there. My cousin, who was like a sister to me, was there. And when my mom tells the story, because that's an interesting perspective, that when it becomes a book or a movie, that can be told, because my mom tells me, like, they didn't know how to get to me. We're going back to 1997. You know, we couldn't like do the map thing and the ways and the different thing, but she said they just remember. She only remembers driving. My cousin came and got her. My mom worked for the state and they figured it out. I think they stopped at different hospitals before they got there. They figured it out. And that's why they didn't make it to me until it was late at night. But I don't remember, like, it's all a blur. I don't remember leaving the hospital. I remember when I was able to regain my ability to walk and my eyes were opening more, but I don't remember the drive back to Penn. I don't remember any of that. But what I do remember were the people in my family that were there and things that they said that have stuck with me. And I'm going to ask you not to judge my daddy. Rest in peace, Daddy. My dad passed in 2021. And if you've been watching this series, I told you how my dad raised me to be tough. My dad was a fighter and taught us how to fight in all kind of ways. And my dad looked at me, and you can still see the scar here on my forehead. You know, the scars are still there. The slit on my... Oh, that's fading good. That one's fading really good. My lip. Where he cut my lip. You can still see these 28-year-old scars. But my dad said to me, why'd you let him mess up your face? That has stuck with me for 28 years. Because this is 28 years old. You know, my eyes were still not all the way open, really bloodshot red. He had cut my hair. You know, you've seen the pictures. Why'd you let him mess up your face? My dad just didn't know what to say because he was helpless as a man who couldn't get to him. And what I understand now is that they was trying to get to him. He was locked up in Pennsylvania, but you know how family be set up in the network, and they was trying to get to him. I remember my aunties. This is very important. My mom has 9 sisters. I remember my aunt that said to me, you have a gift. This left you with a gift. She's right. When you see the white light on the other side and you think you are gone, I didn't know it then. I know it now. I've embraced it over recent years. You're left with a gift. And my godmother said, I would call it, how would she say it? Because I would refer to it as the accident or the day I was supposed to die. And she didn't like that I said that. I forget she's gone too. Rest in peace. And my auntie who said you have a gift. She's gone too. Rest in peace. I remember calling the guy I was dating that I thought was my man, thought was my boyfriend. Y'all remember Eshawn? I said his name, Billy. He wouldn't take my calls. I remember I had to at some point reach out to my school. I was in school, y'all. School wasn't over. This happened April 3rd, 1997. So that means I was back in Pennsylvania. And then my mom took me for testing and everything here in Pennsylvania at Hershey. And at that time, Hershey Medical, and still kind of is, but was like one of the top up and coming healthcare systems. And one thing I remember that when they did my exam on my brain, one thing that stuck with me was when they said I have brain damage. And that later in life or sooner, I may have seizures in my memory. And I'm an achiever in a way, an overachiever in some ways. And to know that what he did could possibly take that away from me ignited something in me that's still there. That's still there. They ask why I'm always going to school. I have a PhD in this, certification is always wanting to learn. I always was like that, my mother said, as a kid. But it's something about knowing that someone having that ability to take that from you, that ignited something in me that I believe at that point shut down any type of woe is me, any type of, why did this happen to me? I'm not going to make it. I remember having to get permission. I graduated from Seton Hall University in South Orange, New Jersey. But before I graduated, that was my junior year, y'all. It was my junior year. I remember having to request, if you go into college, you know that if you take over 18 credits, it's considered a full load. Anything over that, you got to get your dean's approval. Who knows? I don't even know how I share with my professors. I was at a PWI, primary white institution. Oh my goodness, she's been what? Stabbed, buried in the ground? What kind of story is this? But I remember having to take a course load that was close to 24 credits, 26 credits, something crazy that they had to approve. All of that is even a blur, but I remember my mom and dad being shocked when I said I'm going back, and I was back in Jersey faster than all my eyes open in less than a month. Okay, so what I'm going to do is get my folder before I continue. I need to get myself together. I need to brush this hot mouth. But I wanted to let you know I'm finishing today or tomorrow. Today I'm going to record more because I don't know how many parts it's going to be. But I'm going to stop here because I want to get my folder to do some fact checking of timeline because my brain is hopping around to different moments, and I don't know if that chronologically is the correct order. I remember my senior year not matching. If someone else looked, how amazing. I remember my senior year being what happened to what had just happened less than a few months ago. Scars and all. That level of resilience, but also what I blocked off. So I'm going to continue to take y'all all the way through. I don't know how many parts we're going to end up, all the way through to how it's impacted me today. So what kind of time he got, what that was like, all of those different court dates, because I think this is important for others to hear who are survivors of domestic violence. Intimate partner violence is what it's called today, but also how it's impacted me today and what that's looked like. So maybe if it's something in you and you need to seek help, that you will, but also what the superpower in it is, because I do believe that out of it, I have a superpower. We all have superpowers, but I believe it's what it turned on in me. So I'm going to keep going. I think this will let me save this fully as one part, as part 14, but then you'll see me back kind of this evening. I'll be put together out of my pajamas and ready to dive. But thank you for giving me grace. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for giving me the break that I needed before I got back in the time machine and jumped back into 1997. I didn't realize how hard it was to go back and then to bring myself back to the future, back to the present, to deal with life, and then to think I was going to hop back on and just tell y'all the story. Mentally, I couldn't do that shift, but now I'm able to. So thank you. So look, this is part 15. And as I'm going back through all of my paperwork from 1997, right after the event, I left off pretty much talking about how some of it's blurry when I decided to go back to school. Like, I went back within the month. This scar is where he cut my neck is 28 years old this year. So imagine what this looked like when it was fresh. This scar here on my forehead, 28 years old. The scars that go around my neck into my back here. That scar, can you see that there? There's a lot of them. You see that there? Those are 28 years old. So many of them have healed. The slit on my wrist, 28 years old. The one down my leg, I can't do because I have a jumpsuit on. But I was pulling back the paperwork where I tracked the timeline of events and stumbled on this note that he wrote to me. He wrote this on January 22nd, 1997. So this was right before I broke it off. If you've been keeping up with the parts, this was right before I broke it off because I realized he a little crazy. We only dated 6 weeks, but he put, "I'm starting to feel you a whole lot. I'm starting to feel you a whole lot. That's why I act the way I do sometimes." And he signed his name. I say this because sometimes as women, young and old, because this is 48-year-old Roxanne, this was 20-year-old Roxanne that received this, we think that those behaviors are cute, that we want men to be crazy about us. I still sometimes think the same thing, but some of these be signs. Big old red flags. Big old red flags. And at least 20-year-old Roxanne got the red flag. Like, this is weird. He was more into me than I was into him already. But anyway, let me get back to the timeline. So this was here. I'm going to get into when I was on the Montel Williams show and all of this. All of this. Patterson woman, charged with assaulting woman, like all of this. But like I said, it's really blurry. When I decided to go back to school, I took on a larger credit load. I don't remember any of that. I don't even remember eating. I do remember moving. Again, I did not move right back on campus. I moved from East Orange, because remember I moved out, came back. I don't even remember how I didn't have much furniture. I know I had like a bar set, a bedroom set. I don't remember any of where that furniture went during the month I came back home. Like, was it still stuck there? And then I moved to Union. But somehow I remember when I went back, I moved. But a lot of that is a blur. But when I go back to the timeline, remember I told y'all in the one he called me in the hospital and I thought it was my dad? Remember that? He called me in the hospital on, right here, 4/8. 4/8. And then I was released. I wonder if, because he called the hospital, my mom may not remember a lot. She blocked a lot. If, in fact, part of the reason, let me move back, part of the reason there was like, let me go, because he called, he was still in jail, but like we talked about, it must have been like third party call-in. Somebody mentioned they might have had calling cards back then, but when you call the hospital, don't you got to give a name? And if I was there and they did a whole rape kit on me and I was with domestic violence, wouldn't they have protected my name? I don't know. But I even on 4/9, who I talked to at the Bergen County Jail to ask about the charges. So here's a breakdown of the charges. I also called Essex County. Like, I kept notes. 20-year-old me did a good job of keeping these notes. So the charges that he got transferred to Passaic County. Okay. So the charges, he had 5 charges. Now y'all been wondering. 1 attempted murder, 2 aggravated assaults,
1 sexual assault, 1 weapons charge, and 1 contempt of the restraining order. Keep this in mind, because just because they're charged doesn't mean this is what they will end up getting. He was charged with attempted murder. He was charged with it along with the aggravated assaults, and he had a $50,000 violation. I don't know what this is, restraining. Maybe it was a fee, like a because he violated the restraining order, was $50,000, right? But look, check this out. He called me again on May 2nd. He had just called me in the hospital. Called me again on May 2nd. I don't have any notes. I think, what I did was write down the number it called from. And I put C bill, C-A-T-N-T phone bill. So I know at this point, and then I did a police report because it says C police report on May 3rd. Now, this is what pissed us off as this began to unfold. By May 19th, they lowered his bail to $230,000. I don't know what it was at first, but oh yeah, I have what happened to him here. They lowered the bail. And I remember us going to the hearing and the family being excited. And what got me was that if I'm a mom or a sister who were there in the courtroom and this happened to another female, even if it wasn't my fault, I would say, I'm sorry, or attempt to say something. When I say, and I probably met each of them maybe one time. I don't even remember if I really met. Yeah, I met each of them like one time. I don't remember any type. So look, ignore me. I'm realizing my lashes need combed. If I was the mom or the sister, wouldn't you have tried in some kind of way to have said something to me, apologize, something? I remember the tension in that courtroom, and they always would have extra, whatever the bailiffs, what sheriffs, I don't know what they're called, lining the path. You would think we had been in a relationship for years, had children together, and it was tense. Like, why y'all got this type energy against me? I'm 20. Mind you, at this time, I still didn't know he was 32. I still didn't know he was 12 years older than me. Still didn't know this, but why y'all got this energy? Why the mom who warned me on the phone when he had choked me out when I broke up with him the first time? Why, if she knew what harm he had done to other women, why would you have that energy towards me? The sister looked like Grimace, the mother looked like Grimace. Yeah. Don't forget, mom lived on the first floor with the daughter. He lived in the basement. Sister lived upstairs, like on the 3rd floor. Or maybe the mom was on the 2nd too, and the daughter was on the 1st floor. I know he was in the basement, from the attack and everything. So anyway, so look. So we went to court several times. So this was 5/19, bail lowered. I remember not too long after that, I think I had already moved into my new apartment. But look at this. Spoke with prosecutor, motion to lower bail on June again. $250,000, not reduced, no 10%. Okay, his bail was revoked. So that was a good thing. Bail was revoked. He did not plead guilty. So for me, you see my note. What is he pleading? Well, if you're not pleading guilty, what are you pleading? But I guess because of the charges. This is the thing. When they picked him up, they told me they found him down the street at his cousin's house. They followed some of the blood. They followed the blood. Found him at his cousin's house. When they got him, he was hiding behind a sofa. And he said, yeah, I killed that B-I-T-C-H. I killed her. She deserved to die. She took her love from me. She deserved to die. Something he repeated later on in the courtroom at the sentencing. So what you mean? What you pleading? Oh, he had got an attorney. Let me tell y'all what he started pleading. Diminished capacity. This mother pleaded diminished capacity. Now I'm jumping ahead because there's not much more. I'm trying to wrap these parts up. But second appointment for grand jury. The first time Cupo was sick. Oh, Cupo was Cupo the prosecutor? Who was Cupo? Cupo must have been a prosecutor. Because I got names everywhere. So we don't, and mind you, every time my family was coming up from Pennsylvania up to New Jersey, up to Patterson, New Jersey. At this time, school was about to start again. I was about to start my senior year at Seton Hall University. So look, I'm still reading from the breakdown, right? Because when I say all this was like a blur to me, and you might be like, what happened to Eshawn? I remember at this point, I'm going to insert pictures if I can, if I decide to go back in my thing. I remember being really small, the smallest I ever was. I was skinty. I don't remember eating. I don't remember much of anything. But you see this. So I went before the grand jury
It says at 11 o'clock, Detective Cupo did not show up. He was sick. It says at 11 o'clock, so it was the second time at the grand jury. So the first grand jury appointment on July 31st, he pled not guilty. We go back a month, almost less than a month later, on August 21st, 1997. This is 28 years ago. Oh, this time Detective Cupo did not show up.